All right, let's dive in today. We're taking a deep dive into Brian Preston's Millionaire mission. And honestly, this book really got me thinking. It's all about, you know, getting you the knowledge, the right mindset, the tools to build wealth, build real wealth. Not just, theory, but actually like steps you can take. It's about creating what Preston calls a more beautiful tomorrow.
Yeah. And you know what struck me, going through the book was just how optimistic Preston is. He genuinely believes that wealth building is for anyone. It's not just for a select few or something.
And he kind of walks the walk too, right?
Oh, yeah.
This guy built a billion-dollar firm from nothing.
From scratch, yeah.
And that's not just luck, right? So what's the secret sauce?
Well, he talks about, developing what he calls a financial mutant mindset. And basically what he's saying is that millionaires, they think differently about money. And get this, 80% of millionaires are first-generation wealth builders. So it's not about inheritance or being born into money. It's about making smart choices consistently.
So we need to mutate our brains a little bit.
Yeah.
Ditch that whole keeping up with the Joneses thing. But okay, before we get to the how-to, Preston lays out some pretty, hard truths about the financial system in America.
Right, exactly. He points out that a lot of Americans just lack basic financial knowledge. And that makes them vulnerable to, bad advice or just making bad decisions in general. And then on top of that, you've got these conflicts of interest in the financial industry itself. There are advisors out there who actually profit from keeping people in the dark.
It's almost like the system's rigged against us or something.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't stop there. He also says that the media, often focuses on sensationalism and fear-mongering instead of promoting financial well-being. And it's so easy to get caught up in all that negativity, and you miss the opportunities.
Yeah, those headlines can be pretty scary. But Preston offers some hope, right? It's not all doom and gloom.
Absolutely. He really believes that innovation and technology are making investing more accessible than ever. Think about those zero-fee trading platforms.
Yeah.
They've really changed the game.
Yeah.
But even with all these tools, you still need a roadmap, a clear plan.
Right. It's you wouldn't drive across the country without a map, right?
Exactly.
So if we're building this financial mutant mindset and we need a roadmap, where do we even begin?
Well, Preston introduces this concept called the Morrow moment. It's named after a teacher who showed him the power of compounding. And it's this idea that small, consistent decisions you make early can have huge impacts later on. Think about it, a tiny seed today can grow into a massive tree decades from now.
That's a great analogy. But I think most people only really understand compounding when it comes to debt. Think about credit cards. The average interest rate is over 20%. If you're only making the minimum payments, you're barely scratching the surface.
That's like a financial black hole.
Right.
But that same principle can work for you. Imagine if you consistently invested that same amount each month instead. And the statistic that really blew my mind was that 77% to 95% of wealth actually comes from the growth of your assets, not the initial investment. So that means starting early, even with small amounts, can be incredibly powerful.
So it's not about hitting the lottery.
Right.
It's about playing the long game. Okay, I think I'm starting to get this financial mutant thing.
Okay.
But how do we actually put this into practice?
That's where Preston's financial order of operations, or FOO, comes in.
The FOO.
It's this simple step-by-step system he uses with his clients to build wealth. And he breaks it down into 9 clear actions.
Okay, let's dive into the FOO. What's the first step on this financial roadmap?
The first step is what he calls cover your highest deductible. So it's all about having enough cash on hand to handle emergencies without going into debt. Think about unexpected medical bills, car repairs, maybe even sudden job loss.
It's that financial cushion we all need.
Yeah.
So those unexpected events don't, completely derail us. Okay, so once we've got that cushion, what's next?
Step 2 is max out your employer match.
Okay.
This is about taking full advantage of free money, right? If your employer offers a 401k match, you need to be contributing enough to get that full match.
Yeah.
It's basically a guaranteed return on your investment.
I always think of it like this. If someone offered to double your money, you wouldn't say no, right?
Right.
But you'd be surprised how many people leave that free money on the table.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And the earlier you start, the more time that money has to grow.
Yeah.
Preston actually shows how $1 saved at age 20 with an employer match can turn into $176 by retirement.
Wow. Okay, so we're protected from those emergencies. We're grabbing that free money. What's step 3?
Step 3 is where we tackle a major financial obstacle, what he calls the Joneses are broke and miserable. This is about paying off high-interest debt.
Yeah.
So we're talking credit cards, payday loans, anything with a sky-high interest rate.
Yeah, credit cards can be a real trap. You buy things you want now, but those interest payments can really add up.
Right. He compares it to living a lifestyle you can't actually afford. And he also dives into car loans, student loans, any kind of debt that's holding you back.
He's got that rule for cars, right? Like to help people not get in over their heads.
Exactly. The 2038 rule.
The 2038, okay.
Stands for 20% down payment, 3-year loan term, and keeping total car expenses under 8% of your gross income. This way, your monthly investment contributions are actually exceeding your car payments. It's a mindset shift, you know?
Yeah.
You're building wealth instead of just acquiring stuff.
It's like setting up those financial guardrails so you don't veer off course.
Okay, so we've covered the first 3 steps of the FOO. What comes next?
So step 4 builds on the idea of security.
Okay.
It's called emergency reserves. And, covering your highest deductible is a good start. But you need a larger emergency fund to weather those, bigger financial storms.
Yeah.
Things like job loss, major home repairs, those unexpected life events.
Like an extra layer of protection, that financial fortress to withstand anything life throws at you. How much should we aim for?
He recommends having 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up in an easily accessible account. This gives you breathing room, time to get back on your feet without panicking. And for retirees, he recommends even more, like 18 to 36 months worth.
That makes sense. Retirees need a bigger cushion because they don't have that regular income coming in anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got those emergency reserves built up. What's the next step in the FOO?
Step 5 is Roth IRAs and HSAs.
It's time to start taking advantage of those tax-advantaged accounts, right? Where your money can grow more efficiently.
Okay, Roth IRAs. I know they're great for retirement, but remind me how those work.
So with Roth IRAs, you contribute after-tax dollars.
Okay.
Which can be, kind of a mental hurdle for some people.
Yeah.
But here's the magic. All your earnings grow tax-free. And when you retire, you can withdraw that money tax-free too.
So like a retirement superpower.
Yeah. It's a pretty sweet deal, especially as you move into those higher tax brackets later on.
But what about HSAs? I know they're tied to health insurance.
Yes. Health savings accounts. They're triple tax advantaged. So your contributions are tax deductible, the money grows tax-free, and you withdraw tax-free for qualified medical expenses. It's like a financial first aid kit, but it also builds towards retirement.
But Preston mentions that most people miss out on the growth potential, right?
Yeah. Only 4% of HSA holders actually invest that money beyond cash. He even suggests paying for medical expenses out of pocket and letting your HSA contributions grow tax-free and essentially using it as a second retirement account.
That's a brilliant strategy. Okay, but this all assumes we have money left over to save after we cover those basics.
Right, and that's where step 6 comes in, max out retirement options.
Okay.
So we already covered employer matches, but Preston encourages maximizing all those retirement savings opportunities.
So max out those 401k contributions, any additional retirement plans you have access to.
Yeah.
It's about building that financial foundation for a secure future.
Yeah. And he introduces this idea of forced scarcity. So by automating your retirement savings, you're essentially paying yourself first. And you learn to live on a little less, and that money grows in the background.
Like tricking yourself into saving more.
Yeah.
So let's say we've mastered those basics. We're maxing out those retirement contributions. What's next?
Well, step 7 is where things get exciting. It's called leverage hyperaccumulation. And this is for those saving more than 25% of their income. We're talking about building real wealth, not just surviving.
Now we're talking. So what do we do with all this extra money we're saving?
Well, he talks about abundance goals.
Abundance goals, okay.
These are those dreams, right? Beyond just retirement. Maybe it's helping your children with education, buying that dream vacation home, or even retiring early.
Oh, that sounds amazing. But how do we actually achieve those goals?
Well, he dives into different savings buckets. So you have your tax-deferred accounts like traditional IRAs, 401k, and then you have your tax-free accounts, Roth IRAs, HSAs, and then you have your taxable brokerage accounts.
Yeah.
And it's about strategically using each bucket based on your goals and your tax situation.
So we're like becoming financial ninjas, maximizing every opportunity. All right, we're on a roll here. What's step 8?
Step 8 Invest in your abundance goals. And this is where we take action and put those savings to work to achieve those specific dreams.
So this is where it gets personal, right?
Yep.
It's not just about the numbers anymore. It's about figuring out what truly matters to us.
Exactly. Preston talks about the difference between happiness, which is fleeting, and fulfillment, which comes from pursuing something meaningful. And he asks this really powerful question: what small decision today will maximize this moment, A&D, move me closer to my more beautiful tomorrow?
Wow, that really makes you think. So we're not just saving money, we're investing in our future selves, investing in the life we want to create. Okay, we've covered 8 steps. What's the final piece of this FOO puzzle?
The final step is prepay low-interest debt, or debt freedom. This is about reaching that ultimate financial freedom, slaying the debt dragon once and for all.
So this is where we become like financially invincible.
Right.
So we pay off all our debt, even the low interest stuff.
He acknowledges that some people might argue against paying off debt with those low interest rates, but he really believes there's a psychological and emotional benefit to being completely debt-free.
It's that feeling of liberation, right?
Yeah.
Not owing anything to anyone. But he does stress that this step comes after you've maximized all those other wealth-building opportunities.
Yes.
It's like the icing on the cake, the final step toward financial independence. Okay, so we laid out the 9 steps of the FOO, and I have to say, it's much clearer now. But Preston doesn't just stop there. He dives into other strategies and insights, right?
Yeah, he does. And one of his big points is the power of index fund investing.
I've heard about index funds, but what makes them so special?
Index funds track a specific market index, like the S&P 500. And it's a really simple and low-cost way to invest in a diversified portfolio of stocks or bonds. Think of it like casting a wide net instead of trying to catch a single fish.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
So it's about spreading your risk, not putting all your eggs in one basket. But does Preston actually invest in index funds himself?
Absolutely, yeah. He shares that over 90% of his own investments are actually in low-cost index funds. So he practices what he preaches.
So it's not just theory. He's putting his money where his mouth is. Okay, so we've explored the FOO, index funds. What else stands out to you?
He constantly emphasizes the importance of mindset. It's not just about the mechanics of money. It's about developing that right attitude towards wealth building.
It's that financial mutant mindset, right?
Exactly. Breaking free from those limiting beliefs and embracing a long-term perspective.
He also encourages a contrarian mindset.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to investing. Market downturns can be scary, but they also present opportunities for those who are prepared.
Right. It's like that saying, be greedy when others are fearful.
Exactly. And he also stresses seeking professional guidance when needed. Navigating the complexities of personal finance can be overwhelming, and there's no shame in asking for help.
Totally. It's like having a financial coach in your corner, helping you stay on track and make those tough decisions. But it's one thing to lay out the steps, right? It's another to actually see how it plays out in real life.
Right.
So today, we're going to dive into Preston's personal FOO journey and how he handles those everyday financial decisions. And I think a great place to start is credit cards.
Yes, let's talk about those little plastic rectangles that can either be a lifesaver or a total financial nightmare. I mean, some people will swear them off completely, right?
Right.
And others have a wallet full of rewards cards. So what's Preston's take on this whole credit card thing?
Well, he sees credit cards as a tool. And like any tool, they can be used wisely or recklessly. He even compares them to a chainsaw.
Oh, wow.
Powerful, but potentially dangerous if not handled correctly.
I love that analogy. It definitely paints a vivid picture. So how does Preston wield this financial chainsaw?
Boy, he's very clear that credit cards should only be used by those who have the discipline to pay their balances in full every single month. If you can't control your spending or you tend to carry a balance, he recommends avoiding them altogether.
That makes sense. It's about knowing yourself, your financial habits, and not setting yourself up for failure. But for those who can handle them responsibly, what benefits does Preston see in using credit cards?
Well, he highlights the convenience factor, right?
Right.
It's easier and safer than carrying a lot of cash, especially in today's world. Plus, many cards offer rewards programs, like cashback, travel points, or discounts.
It's like getting a little bonus for your everyday spending.
Exactly. And he mentions that using credit cards responsibly can actually help build a good credit score.
Right.
And that can open doors to, lower interest rates on loans, better insurance premiums, even some job opportunities.
It's amazing how much power that little credit score holds. But okay, does Preston actually reveal any specific cards that he uses?
He does. He actually shares his own credit card lineup
Okay.
and the reasoning behind each card.
Okay, spill the beans. What cards made the cut?
So first up is the Costco Anywhere Visa.
Okay.
This card offers 4% cash back on gas, 3% on restaurants and travel, 2% on Costco purchases, and 1% on everything else.
That's a pretty sweet cashback deal, especially
Wow.
for those who shop at Costco regularly. What else does he have?
He also carries the Disney Visa,
Okay.
which he admits is more of an emotional chase.
I can relate to that. Sometimes those rewards programs just tap into our passions.
Exactly. So this card offers 2% back on gas, restaurants, and Disney purchases, and 1% on everything else.
Perfect for those Disney fanatics. What's his go-to for everyday spending?
For everyday spending, he uses the Fidelity Rewards Visa.
Okay.
This one offers a straightforward 2% cash back on all purchases. No limits, no rotating categories, very simple.
Yeah, nice and simple. No need to track different spending categories or anything. Any other cards that he mentions?
He does mention the Amazon Prime Visa, which he doesn't currently use, but he acknowledges it could be beneficial for those who frequently shop on Amazon and Whole Foods.
Yeah, that 5% back on Amazon purchases can really add up, especially with how much people rely on online shopping these days. Okay, what's the last card in his wallet?
All right, this one surprised me. It's the American Express Platinum card.
Oh, wow.
And, he used to avoid it because of that hefty, $695 annual fee.
Yeah.
But then he learned that even Clark Howard, the famously frugal consumer expert, uses this card.
Okay, interesting. So what made him change his mind?
He realized that the Amex Platinum offers a ton of benefits, like airport lounge access, complimentary breakfast at fancy hotels, and credits for Uber, digital subscriptions, even global entry.
Okay, that does sound tempting, especially for those who travel a lot.
Right. But he emphasizes that this card is only worth it if you travel and dine out enough to actually offset that annual fee.
Right. It's a good reminder that those premium cards aren't always the best deal for everyone. Okay, so we've covered credit cards. Let's move on to another big financial decision, housing. What insights does Preston offer in this area?
Well, he acknowledges that housing can be a tricky topic,
Yeah.
especially, with affordability being such a major concern these days. And he believes it's about finding a balance between, your housing desires and your overall financial goals.
He's not saying you have to live in a tiny box to save money, but he's definitely cautioning against overspending on housing, especially early on in your wealth building journey.
Exactly. He recommends keeping total housing expenses, including rent or mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, below 25% of your gross income.
Okay, that makes sense. You don't want to be house poor, stretching your budget so thin that you can't save or invest for other goals.
Right. He also encourages people to consider different options, renting, buying a starter home, or even a multifamily property where you can generate rental income. It's about finding solutions that fit your individual situation.
Yeah, he's not saying you must buy a house. It's more nuanced than that. But okay, what about the down payment? That's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Well, he reveals a dirty little secret. Most financial advisors and clients he's surveyed actually put down less than 20% on their first home.
Really? I thought 20% was like the golden rule.
Right. It can be really daunting to save that much, especially for first-time buyers. He suggests aiming for 3 to 5% for a down payment. A more manageable goal that could be incorporated into your overall savings plan.
So it's about getting into the market and building equity over time. Okay, we've talked about credit cards, housing. What other personal financial decisions does Preston, shed light on?
Well, he dives into his approach to investing for his children's future. And I think that's something a lot of parents struggle with.
Yeah, it's that balance of, wanting the best for your kids, but also making sure you're secure financially yourself. So what's his strategy?
Well, he emphasizes the importance of prioritizing your own financial security first. You can't help others if you're struggling yourself. Remember that airplane oxygen mask analogy?
Right.
You need to put on your own mask before assisting others.
Makes perfect sense. So how does he actually save for his daughters?
So he started with custodial accounts, funding them regularly.
Custodial accounts are great for investing for a child's future, but there's that caveat that, they gain control of the account once they reach a certain age. Right, exactly. You can guide them, but ultimately they'll make their own financial choices. He also set up an ABLE account for his youngest daughter, who has special needs.
Yeah, those ABLE accounts are such a valuable resource for families with disabilities. It's a way to save for their future without impacting their eligibility for government benefits. Okay, so we've covered credit cards, housing, saving for his children. What about that final step in the FOO, prepaying low-interest debt?
Yeah, so he gets really honest about this and his internal debate over this. He currently has a 2.5% interest rate on a 15-year mortgage. And his business partner even teases him for wanting to pay it off when he could potentially earn more by investing that money elsewhere.
It's that classic dilemma, right? Should you prioritize debt reduction or maximize investment returns?
Exactly. And he acknowledges the mathematical argument, but he also reveals the emotional and psychological peace of mind he finds in being completely debt-free. And for him, that outweighs the potential for higher investment gains. Yeah, it's a good reminder that financial decisions aren't always purely about numbers. There's that emotional component, and it's about finding what feels right for you.
Right, and he stresses that this step should only be tackled after you've exhausted all those other wealth-building opportunities. It's the final piece of the puzzle, the culmination of your financial journey. So we've explored Preston's personal financial decisions, his strategies for credit cards, housing, those abundance goals that drive his choices. What are some of the broader themes that emerge from his story?
What stands out to you?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways is that even financial experts face challenges and make mistakes. He shares stories about rushing into a home purchase or grappling with the emotional pull of paying off debt, even when it might not make perfect financial sense.
It's refreshing to hear that even those who are, incredibly knowledgeable about finance are still human.
Right.
They make relatable mistakes.
It emphasizes that, building wealth is a journey, not a destination. There will be setbacks, there will be challenges, but it's about learning from those experiences and continually adapting your approach.
And he walks the walk, too. Remember how he talked about losing his job at McKesson, the company where his father had worked for years?
Yeah.
And he turned what could have been a devastating blow into a launching pad for his own firm.
He took that entrepreneurial leap and built something even bigger and better. It's inspiring to see how he turned that adversity into an opportunity.
It's a reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to those challenges. But Preston also talks about finding the good in every situation, right?
Absolutely. He believes even the most difficult experiences can teach us valuable lessons and often present unexpected opportunities. And he encourages us to adopt what he calls a contrarian mindset. So, looking for those hidden gems of possibility that often emerge from those challenging times.
So it's about shifting our perspective and not getting bogged down by the negativity. And he reminds us that it's often during those times of struggle that we actually discover our true strengths, our resilience.
Absolutely. And he also emphasizes gratitude and enjoying the journey. Building wealth can be a long and challenging process, but it shouldn't come at the expense of our happiness and well-being.
Right.
It's about celebrating those small wins, appreciating the progress we've made, and finding joy in those everyday moments that make life worth living.
And he even shares a story about, traveling through Italy with his wife early in their marriage, even though they were on a tight budget.
Yeah.
And he learned that, those shared experiences, they become even more valuable over time.
It's a great reminder that investing in those moments of joy and connection is just as important as investing in your financial future.
Now, let's dig into his final thoughts, the inspiring takeaways he kind of leaves us with. What really struck me was how Preston challenges us to think beyond just the numbers.
Yeah, it's not just a how-to guide. It's like a call to action to create a life of meaning and purpose.
Yeah, and he really emphasizes that we shouldn't let, external definitions of success dictate our choices. We need to define what our own beautiful tomorrow looks like and align our finances with our values and passions.
He asks those thought-provoking questions, are we truly happy with where we are? Or, are we using our time and resources wisely? And are we pursuing things that bring fulfillment?
Those are questions we should all ask ourselves, regularly. And he even shares a story about switching his college major from finance to accounting.
Right. It's a great example of how sometimes, we need to step outside those expected paths to find what truly resonates with us.
He realized traditional finance just wasn't for him, so he took a risk and followed his gut, and it paid off in the end, right?
It definitely did. Yeah, it's a reminder that those unconventional choices can lead to the most fulfilling outcomes.
Preston also encourages us to embrace continuous growth, right? Like, we all make mistakes along the way, but it's about learning from those missteps and, using them as fuel for improvement.
He reminds us that building wealth is a journey, not a destination. And there will be setbacks and challenges, but it's about adapting, persevering, and constantly refining our approach.
And he walks the walk. Remember how we talked about losing his job at McKesson, the company where his father had worked for years?
Oh, yeah.
And he turned what could have been a devastating blow into a launching pad for his own firm.
He really did. He took that entrepreneurial leap and built something even bigger and better.
It's inspiring to see how he turned that adversity into opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that we always have a choice in how we respond to challenges. But Preston also talks about finding the good in every situation, right?
He really does. He believes even the most difficult experiences can teach us valuable lessons and present unexpected opportunities. He encourages us to adopt a contrarian mindset, looking for those hidden gems of possibility that often emerge from those challenging times.
So it's about shifting our perspective,
Yeah.
not getting bogged down by the negativity. He reminds us that it's often during those times of struggle that we discover our true strengths and resilience.
He also emphasizes gratitude, enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Keeping wealth can be, a long and challenging process, but it shouldn't come at the expense of our happiness and well-being.
Right.
It's about celebrating those small wins,
Yeah.
appreciating the progress we've made, and just finding joy in those everyday moments that make life worth living.
He reminds us that time is our most precious asset and that we should use it wisely, both in terms of our financial decisions and how we choose to spend those precious moments, with loved ones, pursuing our passions and creating memories that will last a lifetime.
That's so true.
As we wrap up this deep dive into Brian Preston's Millionaire mission, what are some of the key takeaways that we can apply to our own lives?
Well, first and foremost, it's about developing that financial mutant mindset, embracing a long-term perspective, prioritizing financial discipline, and breaking free from those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
It's about realizing that wealth is achievable for anyone willing to put in the work and make those consistent, smart choices. We need a plan, and the financial order of operations provides that practical framework to guide us along the way.
We need to build that strong foundation, starting with those emergency reserves, maximizing retirement contributions, and then tackling those abundance goals, and ultimately achieving that debt freedom.
But remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about understanding the principles, experimenting with different strategies, and finding what truly works for you and your unique circumstances.
Yeah. It's about taking control of our finances and making those informed decisions that align with our values and aspirations.
And ultimately, Preston reminds us that building wealth is not the end goal in itself. It's about creating a life of meaning, purpose, and impact.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot between financial security and personal fulfillment, using our resources to make a difference in the world and building a legacy that extends beyond just financial success.
So let's go out there, embrace those challenges, celebrate those victories, and keep striving for that more beautiful tomorrow. That's a wrap for our deep dive into Millionaire Mission. Until next time, keep those financial mutants in training, and let's keep learning together.